Hello, everybody, and welcome to BLS045, another live stream where I'll be working on Pubkey, the project that I just delivered for the Solana hackathon, or Grizzlython as it's called. Let me quickly go on Twitter and actually tweet that we're live. I'm going to do it like this, tweet this, and say that we are now also streaming on Twitter. Because that's true, people. I'm now also streaming on Twitter. So let's take a quick look here. What I just posted here is actually is it? Yeah, it has a comment which links to the YouTube, to the Twitter stream. So I can now check my stream here and I see that I'm indeed live on Twitter. Okay, great. So that all works. It's kind of meta at this point. So let's see what we have in store today. I want to publish the packages to NPM. So Pubkey is built in an NX workspace in a monorepo. And right in here, you see a bunch of packages that I identified. So we're going to be publishing these out to NPM so that other people can use them. It's going to be mainly myself, actually. I think this GUM SDK is not something we're going to publish. It was something I worked on locally, but I don't think I'm going to be exporting this because it's really just a small wrapper. And so let's actually do that as first one. Clean up libraries. Clean up packages actually before shipping. So I'm going to start with that, clean up packages, and then publish these to NPM. We're going to add a GitHub Actions script to do some building and some testing online when I push up the code. And then in addition, we will be creating libraries for the front end and doing some cleanup there as well, probably also in the reverse order. So got to do some cleanup here and create some libraries. So yeah, we're going to do some refactoring while we're at it. Let's start with the first one. Let's clean up the GUM package. I'm just going to check Abel de la Fuente. Hey there. Hey, Abel. Good to see you. Nice to see you. I'm just getting started again with streaming, as you very well know. I just picked up Restream again, Restream license. So what you're seeing here is Restream, and I have to figure out my how it works again. But yeah, I can do like bring chats on board. And the new version is actually pretty fancy. So what you can do is actually add QR codes, stuff like this, which is new for me at least. So yeah, this is kind of cool. And other things I can do like branding, like add a little logo here. So yeah, we might as well have the Pubkey logo in the top right corner here. So cool. Yeah, so we're going to do some cleanup of some packages. And as I said, I got a GUM SDK package here. Let me actually see what I'm using from this. So I know I'm using this GUM SDK here in the core service. But there's a bunch of methods here that I'm fairly sure I'm no longer using. So let's see, get users for public key. So a lot of these are used internally. Yeah. Good. Okay, so to not waste a lot of time figuring this all out, what I'm gonna do, I think, I'm just gonna whack this into its API. I'm just gonna build an API data access library for the GUM code. So what that is, it's a Nest library, and it's of type data access, and it's gonna be in the GUM folder. So libs API GUM data access. So I'm gonna create that one. Everything that lives in libs is not being published to NPM. Everything that lives in packages is gonna be going to NPM. I just don't want this library to publish publicly because it's internal. I think I don't need most of it. I I think actually the library provides everything I need. So I don't need to publish this externally. Now, so that's step one. Then step two is where's this thing actually used, which was the API core service. So let's go back to the API core service and see what that thing is. Let's see, here we are, GUM SDK. So this is no longer API, GUM, data access, bam, this is where it comes from. And now my editor doesn't like this because we need to restart the TypeScript service here. So that's that. Hey, Steve Clean is here. Steve, hey, hello. How many Bs do you have? Well, more than enough, Steve. When will you win the hackathon? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't really care, honestly. For me personally, the biggest win was, this sounds super cliche, it might at least. The biggest win was participating, not winning. Yes, I really said it. I've been intending to submit for a hackathon for at least, I think, 10 times, maybe even more, where I was really, yeah, I'm going to participate, like a bunch of the Solana hackathons, a bunch of the Kin hackathons before that, and I never ever managed to ship a project. I always had excuses. This one time I also had excuses, and at a certain moment I realized that I was just thinking up excuses not to finish it, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna finish Pubkey and just deliver something. And I reached out to Steve actually and started talking about it, and that with a few other chats really motivated me to start building out what I was working on. So yeah, Steve doesn't like the credit, but he does deserve it. Yeah. And yes, it's the friends we made along the way. So that's all pretty cool. Now, let's move on with this one. If we now look at our API, we see that it no longer runs. This also has issues. Importing the package can't resolve it. Yes, that's because we just generated it and it is no longer at the same place. But now server's starting again, and this is all looking good. One quick check I'm going to do is if I'm using the GUM SDK package anywhere else. So let me quickly see. Here it is. This one can be changed. This is now API GUM data access. And there's a bunch more. So let me actually check this out. Okay, this is actually from GUM data access lib interfaces. So it looks like GUM data access does have a bunch of things it imports basically from itself. So what we can do is change this to go up 2 levels and go actually, yeah, 2 levels and go back here and generate it. I think that should be the same for the others as well. So here, up 2 folders and go to generate it, and then be good boys and okay. Now, so that's that. Let's see if we have more contestants. So something else that's working from GUM interfaces. GUM SDK, that's it. And then I should be able to come here and basically delete most of this without getting into any issues. So let me actually get rid of the generator. That did not give any issues. And now this one should no longer yield. Yeah, there you go. No found. Now, so that's great. Remove NX project. So I just realized after checking the YouTube channel that you can now remove projects right from your NX workspace. So what I want to do is the GUM SDK. I want to remove this one. Let's dry run it for a second, see what it does. Well, yeah, that does work. Okay, great. And now it no longer has the GUM SDK package. That is awesome. Great. Okay, so that's a great change. We moved the GUM SDK to its own package. Let's commit it as is. It's a refactor. and move gum to separate API package, not to API gum data access package. Okay, that's one. Oh, Jesus, Steve, you have told a lot of things. Let's see if it's any relevant. Yeah, Steve, go ahead and shave. That's what Steve is talking about. Let me actually see. Okay, so great. So that's where we were. We converted the gum package. Now, I think that's it. I need to check it out. So this is the logo package. Okay, another thing I wanted to do in terms of the cleanup, I added this import React from React everywhere. And this is because I got a second project here. It's called the Gateway. And what this gateway does, it doesn't start at least, so that's cool. Okay, the gateway tries to connect to pubkey.ngrock.io, which is not here, but we can start up. So let's start our ngrock server. Oh, let's just start it. Yeah. Now this gateway, what it does is it imports a React library, and it can actually render a very basic static React version. So if I do something here, it'll get a 404, and this is actually React rendered by my server. So that's kind of cool that it all works, but there was an issue with the React globals, and this is fixed by adding these imports. But now I think I fixed the actual error. So it should be possible to actually get rid of these, get rid of all of these imports, and yeah, and it should still work. So we can fairly easily test this. So just going to get rid of all of these imports here, and then we're going to run a yarn build gateway, which is already commented there. And if this one builds, then we're pretty sure that it works. And actually, the flag that made it work is here in gateway, and it's in the tsconf.app. And I had set JSX to React JSX, and that's how it kept on working. Oh gee, a lot of people here. A lot of people in the chat. Well, not really, actually. There's only 2 people in the chat besides me, but yeah, it's good to see. Okay, so, well, this project built, that means that I no longer need these imports, this explicit import statement. Let's quickly see if it's still there in another file, maybe. It is there in a bunch of files, in the gateway, in the libweb. Yeah, okay. I think I started adding it yesterday frenetically just to make it work. I had an issue with this yesterday. How many matches do we have in our project? 72 matches. Really got to go going through all of these. Now, I'm really curious if this thing actually fixed it, the thing I did. I think there's a faster way to do this. There must be a faster way to do it. And well, I expect Steve to know this. Steve knows shit fuck about code, which is great. Get rid of this one. So I'm just going to do it. And if you don't check watching this, then I'm really sorry for you. Yeah, just going to go over this, and don't be a lazy guy. Okay, but here we already find a file. So if we look at the imports in the file here, it's like, yeah, this is for the homepage that I started building out. There's just a lot of loose ends in the website currently in the project that I started on and didn't finish. Goal was to finish Pubkey itself and not get it all perfect. There's just too little time. So yeah, websites is definitely one of these things. Like most pages are TBD. Actually, in fact, it might be a great thing to build out a website on stream and add some interesting stuff there because yeah, We got a lot of great content. We got stuff to share. Only a matter of actually adding it to the page, building it out. So I'm about halfway in here, and I'll do this. Now, if I would not do this live but pre-record it, I could definitely fast forward this all, but that's not a luxury that we have right now. Let me open this one to keep track. And yeah. And that's about everyone that's left. I'm actually not going to do them all right now. I'm just going to be, or maybe I can search and replace them. Let me actually see if I can search and replace with deleting the new line. So what I actually want to do is search for this and then replace that. So search for this and then replace with nothing. Does this work? Oh, it does work. I love you. Now it's just a matter of hitting enter a bunch of time. And just hope that I didn't do anything stupid here. There we go. Okay, cool. And it will need to reindex, but now it's gone. Okay, this is pretty awesome. Let me actually quickly go ahead and do a partial commit just to make sure that we don't have any weird deletions here. Up until now, it all looks good. Actually give me a percentage how far I'm at in the partial adding. Yeah, this was the verified page that's mainly empty. This is some reformatting of data. It's actually generated code. As you can see, this is SDK code, so not really a big deal here. Just going to accept it all. React, this is generated. This is tsconfig.base. Yes. Amazing. Okay, fix or refactor. Remove the explicit React imports. And now, because we want to be good boys, we're going to build the gateway to see if it still builds, because that was the reason we had these files in here. And then once that's all good, I think it's a great moment to push it up and to see if it actually still works. Now, one of the reasons I want to add CI is that I can make changes and that at least we don't ship breaking builds. So yesterday, my build on DevNet was broken. I'm using Northflank, which is a great tool to host your projects. And Northflank is all good, but it doesn't bother if I ship broken code. It will just try to deploy it, not tell me. I shouldn't ship broken code. That's kind of my responsibility. So yeah, this all works and this is all good. So I'm just going to push it up. And meanwhile, I'm going to get in the corner of my eye going to check the build if that is all working as expected. Now, and with that, I think we're going to go to the notes again. Clean up packages. Yeah. So there is a bunch of front-end cleanup that I have to do. I build out a lot of the features actually here inside the shell, which is basically the main app itself. It's where everything comes together. It's where my main routing lives, etc., etc. The routes just fit into one screen. Now, I need to clean this up drastically, but that's, I think, also for another show. I'm not going to do it all today. But let's see, what can we do? Cleanup packages done. Now, publish packages to NPM. I actually scripted most of this, and I need to have my GitHub token set. But when I do that, it's a matter of, and I can say, I can give it a version. Now let me start actually, am I going to do this RC stuff? I'm not, I'm just going to push it as 1.0 because that's how we roll with Pubkey. An XPM release version, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to dry run this. And what this will do, it'll actually start changing a bunch of files. It says it found 67 library projects, 76 libraries actually, A bunch of these is that they will actually start publishing. So what it'll do, it'll now try to build everything. And then once everything is built, it'll try to figure out which of these now can I actually release. And it says there's no packages to release. And this is most likely due to my release script not understanding my monorepo. Let me actually quickly explain why this is, because what we actually want to do is ship, for instance, this package. In this project.json, there is a build executor. It's called rollup. And I think rollup is relatively new, which means NXPM, the tool that I have created to, it's not here, the tool that I created to ship my libraries doesn't understand this. And I need to figure out NXPM lives here, and then the last changed folder here is NXPM CLI. You're gonna just push this up, and then the latest change that I made in this file was like more than half a year ago, like October 29. It's about a year ago at this point. And I'm fairly sure that rollup is not in the options. But I do know we have like node, package. There you are, constants. Okay, this is what I was looking for. It will try to find any of these builders. Now, this is not great. As we just saw, it's not at all great, but fix is pretty simple. I add this one here, the package it recognizes. And now if I want to execute the same thing one more time, it'll most likely say, oh yeah, there you go. I got 3 packages to ship. Now it sees, oh, Pubkey app logo is a valid package. Pubkey app SDK is valid, and Pubkey app Solana and wallet adapter UI are all valid. It did set the version. Now this is expected. It will update the version automatically, and it says, hey, license is not defined, and it will then set the license for you. So that's all kind of cool. Remember, I'm still dry running this, so it didn't really change anything, but having this one go on without errors is definitely a great sign. Now, if I do git status, we actually see that a bunch of these things have been updated. That's pretty cool. And let me actually run this explicitly. Yeah, so that's good. And then this web SDK as well, because I don't think this is happen here, but in the previous project that I was working on when I was still Kinetic, I had a bit of a different release flow. So I'm a bit checking out how things work here. It looks like it's all good. And let's say release version 1.1.0. Actually, let's make a note in the README. Okay. Warning. This is work in progress. Exactly. Warning emoji. Use this at your own risk. We are, and it's not ready for production use. Okay, great. At least we made it sure in the README, ready to release version 1.0. And I'm actually, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to amend that. I'm going to undo that change. So we're going to simply run this without the dry run tag. Now, there's one thing where this can fail. Well, there's actually multiple layers where this can fail. But one thing that I can think of right now, and is that I don't have the right NPM permission set. But if this one goes through, then we know it's all good. I think I know what's wrong. I shouldn't run this with yarn. I should run this. Oh no, it works. Hey, all works, all good. We just know what we're doing here. It looks like we're all done here. Yes, that's what I would like to hear. So now we can actually go to NPM and we can find Pubkey libraries on npm. Well, it takes a little second for these ones to finish up indexing, but I think when we go to packages and then pop in one of the names, pubkey app/wallet.ui, it should be appearing here. There you go. Published a few seconds ago. It was generated using an X, so this is definitely something where we can work on, making sure that we got these readmes a bit cleaned up. But yeah, we just released our first package to npm. And then if we go check out the repo here, and if you see this and you haven't already, give this repo a star, please. So we'll get at least 2 stars. What we see is that we have a release 1 from a minute ago. It'll tell us all the commits that it added, so that's a bunch. And yeah, so this one is all great. Now, this is working on the main branch. And with that all being good and well, I'm going to delete my extra separate branch here. I'm going to be working on the dev branch as of right now. So am I? I'm not. I'm still going to be on the main branch. I'll be doing PRs. That's what I'm going to do. So just checking my north flank here, server is building. It's actually still building, but it all looks pretty good. The gateway is also building. It looks like my React errors have been gone, so that's all great. And yeah, this is all looking pretty decent. Let's wait for a second till the build turns green, but yeah. But here we are, Pubkey just released version 1 to npm. It'll see my active environments. So these are the ones that are building. I don't need a bunch of these, but it is time to go ahead and set up my GitHub Actions workflow. Now, regards to GitHub Actions, I know that NX recently added a generator to add CI workflows. Configuring CI. I just thought they had a, yeah, you can use the CI workflow generator. That's it. NX generates CI workflow. And now because we have this plugin here, I should be able to just say NX generate. I don't need the UI. Workflow. It's on my other screen. There you are. Workflow. NX workspace CI workflow generator. Sure, let's hit it. Property CI is missing. Okay, let's actually get the UI. Workspace generator workflow. And now it says, which provider do I want to use? Well, GitHub in this case. Workflow name, build and test. Great. Okay. It does a dry run. It pops it in the right place. This is what I expected. And now it generated my workflow file. Sure. Number of agents 3. It starts a CI run, starts recording, and then it does NX affected lint, test, and build. And it spins up 3 agents to do it. Well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and run it like this. Sure, at GitHub Actions workflow. And I'm just going to push it up like this and create a pull request, and then we can see how it all behaves. So we're going to add pull request here, and then from here we can actually follow along. How does this thing work, and how does it actually run? Now, this is a CLI tool called Hukum, however you want to call it. What does it mean? A binding regulation or custom established by legislative and justice. Okay. A statement. Well, yeah, Hukum GitHub. GitHub action progress in terminal. If you're a developer and you value your time, you don't want to waste time switching back between your editor and between GitHub, install this tool and use it. I work with lame motherfuckers that were too lazy to install a tool like this, like, sure, now I can do this. These are the time savers if you're a dev. Don't leave your editor when not needed. But I digress. So, okay, great. And let me actually go to, okay, so this one, this is actually a small fix in my NXVM CI. So fix add support for narwhal roll up builder or executor is what it's called these days, but hey, fine with calling it a builder. Yeah, so we actually are going to check this one in the GitHub Actions. So this one looks all good. Okay, fancy. It'll now actually start initializing the thing. It'll run it. It'll spin off a bunch of agents that actually will trigger all of these jobs. So it all runs separately. This is pretty impressive, actually, that it did all this without doing anything on my end. Yes. Huh, Volta. It's using Volta, apparently, under the hood. That's interesting. I think Volta is a package manager, tool manager, the hassle-free JavaScript tool manager. I'm just curious if this one is being used by NX then. Narwhal NX, search the code base for Volta, and actually want to go to the GitHub here. No code mentioned of Volta. And it does get mentioned in a bunch of these issues here. Looks like your Volta install step is missing. This is from Elton Stalker. He is on the NX team. Yeah, on the Narwhal team. So interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. It's most likely going to be one of these how do you call these things? These actions that they're running. So this is a GitHub action, which I think is just a Docker container, if you look at it from a certain angle. And I think that's invoking Volta. But look at this. We just got a first green build. First build is directly green. So yeah, this will not be staying this way. I'm 100% sure about that. Let's actually git merge beam CI and push this one up right here, and that'll close the GitHub issue for us. So next thing for me to do is make sure that I'm a good boy and that I'm going to get. So this one's now closed, so that's good. I need to work on branches and not push directly to main. With one thing being said, I will need to push my versions directly to main. So I'm not going to add branch protection. It's not really needed right now. Okay, this is great. Making great progress here. So add GitHub actions to build and do the test. A cleanup of the front end code. So yeah, clean up the front end. I'm gonna, hey Steve. Steve is back. Ik ben terug. That's Dutch for I'm back. Well, that's awesome to see, Steve. I'm beyond excited to have you back. Yeah. Let me actually see. 1 second, please. Huh, interesting. I'm just playing around here, checking out what I'm checking out what Restream has to offer, and it looks like I can do fancy stuff. So let me actually do something fancy just for the sake of it. Let's see. Yeah, I can add a second camera. This is so fancy. Fancy stuff. Fancy, fancy. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, anyway, enough of me playing around with my setup here. I'm going to be cleaning up the front end code. Now, one of the things that I started doing, and I can highly recommend this to anybody, I started doing a bunch of copy paste just to get the product out. But there's been a ton of duplication here, and it worked well for me because I got stuff out pretty quickly, but there's a bunch of tools that a bunch of places in the app that we no longer use. Let's identify these and take a look at them. And first thing that I'm going to do is actually, one second, please. I'm back. So I'm going to be going into this shell, and inside this shell, I got a bunch of things that just need to be in their own library. So this is the account feature. This is where you're going to go if you find like a Solana account. So it's basically your Explorer, if you will. Now, one thing that I directly see is that there's a bunch of space here that's, at least on mobile, smaller. Let's not focus on the UI right now. Let's just build it out into libraries. So shell account will get its own account stuff. It's only a feature by now, so I'm going to go ahead and React library, call the feature, and I'm going to go be adding this into web account. And yeah, then basically move over the files and make sure it all lazy load. So this feature is what we want to lazy load, basically this route. So we're going to go here and say export basically this from feature, and we take the export that it does and we export this as default. Now if we go into web shell feature and we want to look at the account feature, we're going to get rid of this one. We're going to make it a const account feature equals the lazy of web account feature, and this was the amazing Copilot auto-completing this for me. So yeah, account feature, and if we now refresh, it'll not work because my dev server also needs to update, figure out these things. So here we are, dev server will now update, and then if I refresh, our feature will be taken from the library and will be lazy loaded. Okay, so now there is one issue that the account details tab takes files from the setting account type card Metaplex NFT. Okay, now account type card actually indicates that this is a UI library for the account. So we're going to create a web account UI library here. And while we're at it, we're going to restart the dev server directly. So it'll at least know about this. And then this web account type card Metaplex NFT, great name here, by the way, if I say so myself. This file can actually go into UI. And now I see another one, account table. This should probably also go into account UI. So we're just going to put this in here. Get rid of this one for a sec and these default files. And we're going to say export star from lib account.table and lib account type card Metaplex NFT, because we like long names. Great. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to use the editor to figure out where is this actually being used. Well, it's here. Okay, how about you go to account UI, pick it up from there. That all works great. So, and this is the actual account details where it was happening. That's all nice. Okay, good. So made first two libraries. Now that means that I can also do some deletion, and every developer loves to delete code. So I'm gonna go delete unused. So this one's unused. As you see, it's grayed out here. So I'm gonna delete that one, which makes this one grayed out, which makes the whole file grayed out. So that's great. We're gonna get rid of this file. And then here, account details tab, same story. It's grayed out, so nothing happens here. Okay, we don't need it anymore. So then this account type Metaplex card is what we just do. It's now also no longer being used, so that's good. So we can get rid of this one, get rid of the styles, and that makes the whole file obsolete. And look at this account table. Now, account table is being used by the user identity page Solana. The user identity page Solana lives on the same same place, lives basically next to it. It sits next to it, user identity. But this should actually all be in the identities UI library, right? So this account table, we can get rid of the one here because we already now exported from Pubkey app web, what is it, account UI. That's there. And then if we go back to the account table, we see it's actually grayed out here now as well. It's no longer used, sort by type, no longer used. So get rid of this one. Great, we're making progress here. Just making sure that my build keeps on building, and then that's that. Now, so that's all going pretty well. I think the second one that we already saw was identity. So we do have identity UI. So here we can add more stuff for the identity UI. And let's take a look. We can create a new identity, which is called by the user manage identities file. User manage identities. Now, all of these are actually called, so this one's called from the dashboard, user manage identities feature. So let me actually start with this one. And user says who invokes this thing. Now, this one directly depends on create new identity, user identities provider, and the user identity panel. So user identity panel, user identities provider, and create new identities. I'm going to cut these out, copy them, paste them here. That should make these ones happy. Okay, now the whole user manage identity is self-standing from here, identity UI. So I'm going to go ahead and export here the user. Oh, keyboard's getting weird. Keyboard's glitchy. Oh, there we are, back again. User manage identities. And there we are. Okay. Now, user identity panel has some other issues. It depends on user identity page Solana, user identity settings delete, and settings sync. Actually, you know what? These are all here. So we got to bring them in. Bring them in here, actually. And then it's a matter of walking through all of these, figuring out which imports are still broken. So identity add modal is not being used. Let's not delete stuff just yet. So this all looks pretty good. No issues here. And then these ones are already updated, and then the verified batch as well. So that all looks pretty decent. And now then the user managed identities here is no longer coming from here. In fact, it's coming from something totally different. So this is the Pubkey identity UI, which is not user identities provider should live, but we can do identity UI index.ts and export the identity provider, user identities provider. And this user managed identities now needs to come from somewhere else. So let's make this one import from identity UI. And then I think if everything is right, then now the server should be starting again. And user manage identities. Where is this one living? This one is still here. We can just get rid of the whole thing. There we are. Okay, great. Now, verified is a section of the homepage that I mentioned before. This is something that can most likely be gone as a whole. We can basically see here what's left to do. So let me actually quickly see. Yeah, I've got like 10 minutes left before we're into an hour. 15 minutes actually. So let's see what we can do more to clean up this stuff. So in terms of how bad things need to separate out, we can basically group them together. So there's a bunch of things. Homepage and verified page, these are public routes, and we should move them into their own content ASAP, because you should not have to download the homepage if you're actually only using the app. So let me actually make a cleanup branch here, because I was not on the branch. And let me make sure that we got a homepage library, which we don't have right now. So I'm going to create a homepage feature, homepage. And I'm going to create a homepage UI library. Then we're going to ship everything to feature. And then from there out, we can split it up into reusable UI chunks. I'm already restarting my dev server and my TypeScript in the editor here, so that it'll actually recognize my stuff. So this is the cleanup of the homepage library, and let's do the same with the UI library here. So get rid of the default component that's been created. And gonna go to shell data access. Actually, make sure that we're doing the right stuff. So I realized there's no easy way to go back to the homepage once you log in. You do need to know, is it the root, or just to know where the route is. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to be offline for 2 minutes, please. Bear with me. I need to do something right here. Hello, friends. I'm back at it. Thank you for bearing with me for a second. I think I still got 2 viewers, Oracle and Steve. Must be you guys. I love you folks. Thanks so much for being here. That's really appreciated. Now, what I was doing is actually drag these homepage components into its own section, and Steve doesn't like me loving him. That's all right, Steve. I'm far away, so don't worry. So yeah, this one is already broken up a little bit. We do have this feature here. So let me just whack these in here in libs. Now all of these sections are actually already nice isolated UI components. So that's all good. Logos as well, as a matter of fact. And then what I want to do here is export all of these from lib homepage section build with, section FAQ, section grid, and then section hero image. And then from the logos, I do want to do gum, dialect, and then Helios. Wow, I'm technically not even integrating the last 2. I'm using Helios RPC, by the way, but I'm not using any of their SDKs currently. Okay, cool. And that makes me allows me to get rid of all of these here and the logos, and actually import these from the library that I just created, the UI library here. So let me, yeah, there you go. And it'll now be caught up. And then all of a sudden it finds a bunch of imports that all takes it from here. Everything besides the gum logo. Well, yeah, that's because it imports it from 2 places potentially. But this is where we're at. Now, this one is unused, as you see. So let's go to index.ts and do the export trick. So export from homepage feature, and then take this file, export it as default. That's great. And then homepage has another export. Homepage content feature. Well, we don't need that one. It's unused anyway. So great. Homepage feature now lives here. That means we can go back to our shell. And where this one is actually being used now, we can make it a lazy import. So we can say const home feature. And yes, I'm doing this alphabetically. Const homepage feature is here. Ah, this is where home content feature was being used. Yeah, right. But homepage content feature is actually just a placeholder. I'll get rid of this one. It's actually this container. It's TBD. So I'm actually going to say, add this here, placeholder component. I'm going to call it placeholder component because it's really nothing more than a placeholder. All of the content that we didn't yet bother to write or to publish, better said. That's that. And now I can get rid of this one and the app should still work. There you go. App still works. And this is the placeholder page that we were looking at. So that's all good. And now the second one goes for verified. So /verified is actually just a section of the homepage. Probably, let's see, verified. Do we actually do this? It's nothing substantial. So you know what? I'm just going to delete it for now and get rid of the verified option and make this one of the placeholder pages. So say verified. So homepage feature. And this is clearly all stuff that I need to figure out, like how do I want to actually do this? Because for now, it was great having the homepage and the app in the same project. It's fast to move. It's fast to iterate. But I think in the end, there's a better way to do this. So page editor feature is no longer loaded here. It's now loaded from the apps. The early dashboard login and PID routes. I'm going to go ahead and do, let's actually see how much code is involved. This one is a biggie. Dashboard. The early form, Logins, just really one page. I'm not too worried about that. The PID route, I'm not even using this. It's like a great idea at some point, but let's delete this. Get rid of that one. Sure, can get rid of that one. Yeah, I think search kind of deserves its own spot. Search, let's go ahead and build search. So web search, UI, and the search, it already exists. Interesting, web search. Okay, let's call the feature. And then already restart my web and restart TypeScript server so that it will pick up these changes. Then we can add the search feature here. So I'm going to get rid of the import. It's all getting super predictable. And as you see, refactoring code is pretty mechanical work. A great way to start doing some exploration of a project, figure out what it's all about. This is really just a feature. I'm fine with that. Export other way around. Let's get this one out of lib search feature and then lib search feature as default. Yes, and now I can go to my web shell and say, hey, search feature, actually do it for me. Ha. Love it. Okay. Right, and now let's actually see what happens if we go to the search page. We'll see search, yay, and we can say bman, and it'll take me to bman. Hopsa. That's awesome. There's 3 left. We're going to do them all, and then we have a great way on ending the stream right there with a nice, clean setup here. A profile page. I think this is already working from the libraries. I will make sure by just graying it all out. Now this one's also grayed out. You can stop using this, get rid of all of that, and that will also gray out this one. So yeah, it's no longer used. Already did some cleanup here. Great, get rid of that one. Now, login feature should live in auth feature. So let's just build it. Yes, it's a feature that only holds one file. Who cares? Auth feature source lib this one and do the login feature and lazy load this one default. Here, great, can get rid of these 3. This is all set up, and now go back to my web shell and then say login feature is now actually an auth feature. I should maybe consider call this login feature, I guess. Let's also start the web server here. Okay, then what's left to do here? So login feature is now no longer being used, so we can delete this dashboard and early adapter. Now, let's quickly go over these ones. Actually go a bit wider. Account is verified. So this is actually account UI. This is also account UI, and this is not even used. Account verify loading. Just get rid of that one. Unverified account is not verified. So let's move these ones to the account UI. Account is verified and is not. Okay, let's rename them. Yes, okay, great. And we got exported these two. Good, good, good. And now we can go back to where we had them defined, which was right here. See where they're being used and then change their import. So this should actually come from the Pubkey account UI. Yes. See, nobody else is using it. So it was only used in one place, set right next to it. And this is how I just build it all out. I just build out a bunch of components, and then I realized, oh, actually, in fact, this is something that can ship somewhere else. So I split it out. And this seems to work really well in deciding which file goes where, which is what a separate component, and what stuff should be living together. So with that out of the way, I got rid of 2 of the files here. Dashboard feature by itself will take stuff from manage profiles, manage username, and dashboard gum user create. Interesting. Yeah, interesting indeed. So let's see. So this username model, username model, only used in the dashboard. Sure. It's used in the profile card. It was used here, but this one is already not used by itself, so we can get rid of that one. Do some optimize of the imports here. Manage profiles is used. Manage profiles. Select avatar. Sure. User select avatar. Actually, this was called user, but it's actually a profile. So it's a user. It's actually a profile. Select avatar. Rename it profile. Select avatar modal. And then everything which is on class, this interface, we can also rename this. Now, this should fix my app again. And this will tell us where it should live, namely in profile UI. So I'm going to go ahead and do the profile select avatar and drag it into here. And then update my import. Profile select avatar model. Then we can figure out which one was actually using the profile select avatar. This update can be changed. So that's that. User manage profile details. This is actually a feature component. I can see that by the amount of that we actually import. This one takes the verify user argument, but doesn't actually use it. So let's get rid of this verify user argument here. Get rid of this one right here. And then see if we have anything. No, we have nothing related to verify users inside this. So that's kind of okay. But then now it will error out. Say that I'm actually not using, or is it not erroring out? Manage profile details. I don't know, error has been gone. But here it's the same thing. Verify user was just being passed in. So I did some classic prop drilling. Some classic prop drilling to get the React app out, but right now that's all a thing of the past. User manage profiles now has this verify user method that it's not calling, so we can get rid of that. And that should free up the verify user here. Now, where is this one called? Unstyled button, unclicked. Yeah, this is just an experiment as well. I need to decently fix this and not add a bunch of hacks. Oh yeah, we no longer need that. We no longer need this. So what I set out to do, cleanup, is coming along pretty well. Look at this beauty. So use username modal. We're going to move that one into the user UI library. Yeah, username modal is going to be living here. I'm going to export it here from index. So username modal there, which updates the import here. And that's that. User manage profiles. Now, this user manage profiles, it's actually the this component. It's the accordion. think this is profile UI, if I have to take a guess. Sure. And then the user managed profile details is, I think, the same. Dashboard GUM user create. Now, where is this one called? It's called from the dashboard feature and from the user. Dashboard GUM user create. I'm going to whack it in the dashboard UI folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create the dashboard feature and the dashboard UI. And I'm just going to whack it in there. And like optimizing code is never done. You're always going to keep finding things that are potentially better placed somewhere else. And at some point, you just have to take a decision and say, this is what we're going to run with. And until it actually breaks, you should just generally probably just do that. Don't touch stuff that just works. Now, so this one, I'm going to pop this all into the dashboard feature. And then from there out, we're going to be going, we're going to be splitting it up into libraries. So dashboard feature, we're going to take this one and set it as default. Sure. And now we're going to go back into our shell, web shell feature, and then say dashboard feature is now actually a lazy loaded import. So that's all good. And now see if the app still loads, which it does. So that's all great. It also means that I should be able to get rid of this whole beast right here. App still works, so that's still great. I'm going to leave the early stuff, the early page, you're early. I'm going to leave it in here. It's just pretty minimal, and I will be changing stuff on it anyway. So I'm not going to get bothered with that one today, but what I'm going to do as the last part is go ahead into the dashboard and identify a few of the reusables here and move them into the UI. So this one, the feature itself, definitely not a reusable block. The edit user profile modal. Sure, I don't see why this would not be living in a UI library. Then export it from here, lib as user profile, and then afterwards update the import. So import is here. Replace it with web dashboard UI, sure. And then same goes for the user dashboard GUM create. So dashboard user GUM create. Now we can do a whole second exercise on the naming of stuff, because naming things is always a challenge when you're developing software, but also not something we're going to be bothered with today. Today we'll just keep with the naming that we have, and then update the last one here. And with this, I think we made a great dent at optimizing and cleaning up the code. Let's make sure that it still builds while, yeah, so it runs here, gateway still runs. So we can still build the render app. Just enjoying the view, Oracle. Oracle is just enjoying the view here. I'm happy to see that, Oracle. Steve doesn't like this kind of OnlyFans. Yeah, like and subscribe, brother. Beeman's really vetting the project, so yeah, that's cool to see. And when a dev comes active to share how the project is built, just made it cool. Yeah, thanks, Oracle. I love sharing what I've built. If there's anything specific you like to see in how I built Pubkey, if there's any aspect that you want me to enlighten on, let me know, and we can touch on it on the stream. I got this whole admin section built. There's also stuff that I'm not really super comfortable with. For instance, there's this queue manager. There's a job queue. It does stuff. It has jobs that it does. but I don't have the feeling that I'm really very well versed in building job queues and all of that stuff. So there's definitely a bunch of things for me to explore myself in Pubkey and still how I want to do it. Another thing I want to do is want to improve the search. So search should just basically do a search on Backpack, on Dialect, on all of the other potential name providers. So you'll just find an account. If I search for Oracle and you have oracle.sol, it should pop up here. So yeah, but let me actually, for 1 second, and to wrap it up here, get the notes. Pubkey do and notes. Do hello. Pubkey to do, notes to do. I did clean up front-end code. Well, create libraries for front-end and clean up front-end code. I think we can leave that for a next stream. So with that, I'm gonna leave it. Thanks everybody for watching. Steve, Oracle, Abel de la Fuente, any others that accidentally passed by. I love you all. Thanks so much, and I catch you all in the next one.